Alright, hello. I hopefully can do this video fairly rapidly, but it's just for it's just another Madonna death date video. It's just some synchronicities with this number here, 247. Okay, quite interesting synchronicities, and it points to tomorrow's date for Madonna, which is 6/11. Obviously, there's a lot of people predicting a lot of stuff for 6/11. Okay, but I just want to show you these connections, right, with Madonna, because it could be a potential day for her as well. So where do I want to go from here? So I guess I should just explain this scene right first. We're in the film Goldeneye, and 247 appears on this bridge. Now, what's going to happen is this tank here is going to shoot the train and derail the train, and we've got some numbers involved with these two things, right? The tank and the train. Let me just go to my decode chart, the Queen's Cross one, and I want to show you some interesting stuff connecting with this 247 now, Pierce Brosnan, and the tank and the train. Obviously, what's interesting, firstly, what I want to say one thing. Madonna, if you look at Madonna and Gematria, the 6226, okay, look at tank and look at train also with the 6226, 6226, okay. So there's this connection with Madonna. Now that scene, okay, at the start of this scene and at the end of this scene where the train gets derailed, there is a reference to Boys and Their Toys, and Boy Toy is a Madonna reference, okay. Now, so they have a reference to Madonna at the start and at the end of this scene. Now, let me go to my chart and I'll show you what's super interesting about the whole thing, right? The number that's on the train, so the center of this chart is really what to do with balance, right? We can ignore the bottom part of this for right now. We only really need to be looking at the center, and this is the center point right here, okay? With this little black asterisk that I've just drawn in there, okay? That's the center of the chart there. There's also another center to this chart if we can sort of invert the numbers kind of, or we can just look at the other center balance point, and it's between the numbers 5 and 5 here, so 55. Okay. Now, what's interesting about that is that Pierce Brosnan's birthday comes off of that set of numbers there. Okay, so the opposite of, I've put there's a certain reason why this is at the center and it's called it the Queen's Cross, because the Queen's birthday, the Queen's death date, sorry, is kind of predominantly in the center of this thing, okay? So Queen Elizabeth II. So this is why I call it the Queen's Cross. The other inversion of this chart I called the King's Cross, and the 55 is at the center of that chart. Okay. What I'm trying to say though is, look, Pierce Brosnan's birthday would be at the center of the King's Cross chart, okay, or close to the center of it. Let's put it that way. Now, that train in Goldeneye has this set of numbers on it, 745, okay, and the tank has 343 on it, okay. So what that does, it forms that cross there. That's like the cross of Christ. That's like Christ carrying the cross, okay. So this is quite interesting. And what's even more interesting is, like I just said, this is Pierce Brosnan's birthday here. He's representing the king, so to speak, man, Christ figure. He does the Christ in Goldeneye. He does that Christ jump off the dam. Okay. Notice the numbers that come immediately after Pierce Brosnan's birthday, 5/16. Okay, the 16th of May. Look at this. Let's just go in reverse. 247. 247. Kind of interesting. 247. Okay. So so we're seeing that 247 there, to do with just after Pierce Brosnan's birthday. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan is at the end of the dark tunnel here. Okay. Okay, and again, he's shooting a black train that is out of control, so to speak. Not really out of control, but is being manned by some psychopaths, right? So this is what he has to destroy, just the same way as in Back to the Future we see the black train destroyed as it goes over the cliff, okay, out into Shonas Ravine, or Eastwood Ravine, okay. So anyway, there's the 247, the tunnel, yeah, coming out of the tunnel, coming out of the eclipse. Here's the red star, very nice, okay. You could look at that as eclipse referencing, or also lunar eclipse as well referencing, right? Anyway, so I've shown you that little bit. Now I've got to show you now something interesting to do with Madonna and this 247, right? Because you're saying to me, well, okay, Dan, so what about 247? What the hell does that matter at all? Well, let me show you something with Madonna's age right now, okay? Well, tomorrow, okay? She will be 24,407 days old. So we have 2447, okay, which is quite nice with the 44 in the middle, because again, the 44 is that balance or reset number, or death and resurrection number, like a Lazarus death and resurrection number with the four days, okay. So we've got the 2407. So okay, so what? Okay, that's kind of interesting. It connects back to that scene. But there's something else that connects this even more interestingly now, okay? Because if you recall, I've talked about Pulp Fiction several times. There's lots of Madonna references in that film, and well, is there lots of Madonna references? I don't know if there's lots of Madonna references, but we've looked at several connections with Pulp Fiction anyway. Now, what is interesting is in Pulp Fiction, when Mia Wallace dies, or she kind of dies, but they resurrect her. Okay, she's about to die, and they have to inject her with the needle through the heart or into the heart with the adrenaline. Okay. So Vince Vega again with the the Vegas reference, and then we're back with Lazarus. Kind of very similar sounding kind of words. I don't know, Vegas and Lazarus. That's a stretch for some people, I'm sure, but anyway, yeah, that is a stretch for people. You've got to put the Las in front of it. Las Vegas, yeah, and Lazarus. Okay. Anyway, getting sidetracked, but Rosanna Arquette is in that scene. She is Eric Stoltz's husband, I guess, in that scene, and of course it's Lance is Eric Stoltz, or Eric Stoltz is Lance, and he's the Christ figure in that scene, and he's also, obviously has the huge connection with Back to the Future and the Hoover Dam, of course, with the 9/30 birthday. Okay, but anyway, Rosanna Arquette is in that scene. Now look at from Rosanna Arquette's birthday through to 6/11, 24047. Okay, so we have the exact, if you just drop that 0 out, we have the same numerology with these two. Now what's fascinating about the reason why we connect Rosanna Arquette with Madonna is because she is in the film, well, I don't think I have it up here, Desperately Seeking Susan. Okay, in fact this is Madonna's song from that, Into the Groove. Okay, here is, and they're playing, basically they're not twins, but they get mixed up, they get confused for one another. So she is playing her, and you get the idea. It's a twinism going on there with Desperately Seeking Susan. Okay, so that's what's fascinating about this fact that these two sets of numbers are matching up quite well for this particular date, for the 6/11 date. Okay. Now, what also is interesting, if we just take a jump back to Pulp Fiction again, well, we've not moved away from Pulp Fiction. Well, we have. Sorry, this is all over the place. If we just go back to Pulp Fiction, we might go back to Desperately Seeking Susan. One thing to note about Desperately Seeking Susan is that is the film where they have the Eye of Provenance, the $1 bill Eye of Provenance on the back of the jacket. Okay, so it's kind of, with upcoming events, it would be a very interesting reference for sure. Anyway, if we just go back to, let's see, I've got it up here. Let's go back a minute. Hang on a second. I want to show you something. So, if I can find the dude, I don't know where I saw it as well. It would be handy to just click on it so you could see. Oh dear. Now it's quite a deep. I think there's some references in this scene, right? What I'm thinking about, which is the scene when the dude jumps out of the bathroom and tries to shoot Vince and Jules, Samuel L. Jackson, yeah, and John Travolta. Okay, so the dude comes out the toilet, tries to shoot him. Now that dude is, if we could please get to that point, come on. Now let's see, it might be in here. Yeah, look. So the dude that jumps out of the bathroom is Rosanna Arquette's, well, now sister, but was brother at that time. Okay, known as Robert Arquette, Bob. Okay, Bob comes out of the toilet and tries to shoot him, and then there's some kind of miracle. Okay, and they don't get killed, right? All the bullets miss, even though there's like bullet holes right behind them. Okay, this is the dude right here. Okay, now turned woman. Okay, so Alexis Arquette, is that how you say that? I don't know. But look at the death date here, September the 11th. Okay. Wow. Okay, so we've got a September the 11th reference. But what's even more interesting about this, and don't forget, this is the scene where we first meet up with the suitcase with the 666 with the gold in it. Okay, so we've got all those connections back to Madonna with 666 and gold, and all the Spandau Ballet stuff and everything. Anyway, and what's also interesting about that scene is there is a slight reference to the Hoover Dam, because there's this thing with what, okay, and if you've ever seen that sketch with the, I can't remember who it is now who does it, but it's the who's on first, what's on second. Okay, if you've ever seen that sketch, okay, who's on first, what's on second, or I might be saying that the wrong way around. But so what connects back to who? Okay, and I think I've seen this in other places where they reference what, and I think it's a reference to who. Okay, I know that doesn't make much sense, but Hoover Dam connections. Okay, in that scene. Now, let me show you what is interesting about this. Let's go from her or his birthday, 7/28/69. Let's just make sure that's right. Come on. 7/28/69. Okay. Through to 6/11/2025 again. 2/04/07. 247 again. Now, I just thought that was interesting, because what you have to realize with this character here is this is what has happened to mankind. It's the, what would you call it? the corruption of man into the metaphysical, yeah? So what we have is men turning into women, okay, which represents mankind as a whole moving into the metaphysical. Does that make sense? Man turning into the feminine. The feminine is the metaphysical. Yeah, when we're in the matrix, we're in the metaphysical, and this is what this represents. It's a deranged state of being, yeah, and as you can see there, it's a deranged state of being. The emasculation of humanity, okay? If that's the right word, I don't know. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting because this is what we have with Madonna, yeah, the old crone, yeah, yeah. Oh dear. Anyway, other names, Eva Destruction, really, Eva Destruction, yeah, great, that's nice. Okay, so where have we got to here? So we've got these 247s showing up, right, which is super duper interesting in the tunnel, right? I thought I'd do Rocco Ritchie's birthday through, because it was when we were looking at the sun with the mother, you know. 9,070 days, 9-7 references here. The 9-7 is very nice because it's it's simply in reverse, it's gold, okay, again, which is kind of interesting. The 79, okay, with the atomic number of gold. What else we got here? What is this one, Dan? Oh, so this one here, I think, is the release of, yeah, it's the release of Who's That Girl? Okay, good job I left it there. Which was marginally interesting, just happened to come out that, you know, that date there. What in the hell am I on here? That's not the one I wanted. Hang on a minute. Oh, we need to do that in just a second. It was just interesting that the date for the release of Who's That Girl and going through just came out to the 24th cube. Quite interesting. So that was that. What else do we have here? This was Pierce Brosnan's birthday through. Nothing majorly interesting here, apart from 72 years, 27 days, which I kind of liked as well. Obviously, the 7 and the 2, the 2-7 it does show up with Madonna's. Well, it's a 127, I think, with her gematria, but again, 2 and 7 in Lucas numbers, they're the twins in Lucas numbers, okay? In fact, this is only a day off of Madonna's twin date for the year. You know, if you come through and look at May the 16th, it'll work in a leap year for the 229. We need a right here with Madonna is the next day, see? So her birthday is twinned with the 17th of May in a normal year, okay, with the 137, 228 days. And what was interesting about the 229, you know, is in a leap year these match up. Okay, sorry, going this way. In a leap year, this will push on and match up with Madonna, at least for one of the numbers, anyway. Okay. So again, that's kind of interesting. Where was we at with the 27? Yeah, so that was, yeah, and also the 27 with the 722 pi reference, you know, and like I said, in Lucas numbers, those are the twins, right? And actually, with Lucas numbers, 247 is quite a strong. They're numbers that, especially 47 in Lucas numbers, is a big sort of, we would say, it's a kind of a big number in Lucas numbers. Here was something else I wanted to show you. Okay, was we were looking at this number plate with her age, 66 years, 9 months, and we did you can do 3 days, which came out at the 19th of May, the 519, and then we could do the 13 days here, and that came out when we were doing the decode with Clint Eastwood, right? Because it came out and it was synchronizing in with Clint Eastwood and Rocco Ritchie around about, I think it was, I've got it in here, so the 29th, I think it was. Yeah, May the 29th. And of course, Clint Eastwood's birthday is the 31st of May, same day that the Titanic was launched. And it goes on around in circles, you know. And of course, in Back to the Future, when this number plate gets smashed off the DeLorean and is flipping around, we're dealing with Marty as Clint Eastwood coming across Eastwood Ravine, you know, with the reference back to San Francisco. So, I mean, it's just all round in circles. But anyway, you could do 30 days as well, which came out at, let me show you, 6/15, which is the day after Donald Trump's birthday. And another thing that was interesting is that this year on Donald Trump's birthday, we have the United States Army turning 250, I think that's what it was, 250 years old. So we have this 25 reference again with the cut. You've got to remember that 25 forms that vase shape, the two faces, and again it is what do I want to say? It's the cup of Christ. It's the vessel, the womb. Okay, and so that's why that's really important with the 2552. Depending on which way up it's flipped, depends maybe on whether it's empty or full. And again, we're looking at the idea of the, you know, the Holy Grail being bastardized, so to speak, and turned into the matrix right now, the corrupt matrix that we're in. And that is obviously a reference back to the Hoover Dam again and Lake Mead. Okay. Anyway, what else we got here, Dan? Come on. Again, if we could just backtrack here as well, just to look at one more number. 66 years, 300 days. Is 612 as well. Sorry, I was doing. What was I doing before? 11. Right there. Yeah, that's where we was at. 66 years, 300 days with that, with the date inclusive. And if you don't include the date, okay, it's going to click on one day. 612, in case you wanted that reference as well. 216, obviously, when we're dealing with the 666 stuff, is kind of interesting as well. I'll tell you what the interesting thing was, 66 years, 300 days. I had in here, now, where was he? Yeah, this was, you see, Marcellus Wallace would be an interesting one to look at in Pulp Fiction, the other half to Mia Wallace, who is dies and resurrected, right? Same numerology here, 66 years, 30 days, so it's the 663 and the 663 through to, well, let's put it back on that day as well, and it's the 663 as well, matching up with 611. So that was kind of interesting as well. What else did I have? Let's backtrack through some of these. Okay, so this is one of the release dates for Pulp Fiction. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? 11199 days. Through to 611 now. And then let's look at the other release date. No, that's not it. Right here. 5/21/94. Okay, so this was the other release date. I think this might have been some film festival, maybe Cannes, something, I don't know. Anyway, 11344. Now, what was interesting about this is in Back to the Future, when Doc gets shot, okay, we got the 134 coming up, okay, and Marty's going to also be reborn kind of here because he's going to go down this embankment. The embankment is like the dam, and he's going to kind of be reborn again, and he's going to make the jump here in the DeLorean. And we were talking about all these connections with this scene. Oh dear, oh dear, and back with the 135 again, and the 531 that we were connecting back with. With Titanic. And actually, interestingly enough as well, with those same numbers here with Titanic, with the 314 or 413, 314 being pi again, the sinking of the Titanic through to that particular date is 413, and then we have a duplicate 3, and then 0, right? If we click through to Donald Trump's birthday, it's 41333. Okay, so this is kind of nice as well, Anyway, that was that. What else have I got in here that I've missed? So that was that was Pulp Fiction through with the 1334. Okay, which is on the Back to the Future sign there with Lone Pine Mall. This was Die Another Day. Okay, Die Another Day, which again has a Hoover Dam reference at the start of it with the hovercraft, the hovercraft chase at the start of that film. And again, in that film, did I mention this already with the army? In that film, she is doing the fencing. She's the fencing instructor, and so the music video for her song of the same title as the film, Die Another Day. And in fact, we'll do the number jump here in just a second for that, because I haven't done the number jump for the actual release date of the song. But for the film itself, through, right, which is 11/22, I think there was a couple of dates for the film, but I just did that one. We got the 1034 prime. Yeah, so I have the 134 showing up again right there, which I thought was interesting with this number, right? Now, what I was saying was, let's just do the other one, and then I'll talk about that suit of armor thing that's in the music video for that. So this is from, I don't see anything particularly interesting there from the actual date of her song release. Let's just click that and see if ain't nothing special. Not really. Let's do an inclusive number jump, see if that's anything special. Oh, 137. Yeah, the Donald Trump ear wound, 731. You'll note, if you went back to this chart here, you'll notice that as well. I'm gonna say, no, it isn't. I was gonna say there might have been a one. Well, anyway, over this side of this thing here, right? You can see, 731 is part of this number line as well, so it's kind of important. But anyway, 137. So anyway, the 137 that's in here with the ear wound. Darn it, there is a connection, and I have to show you a different chart. Shall I show you that? Let me just show you that with this 137 connection here right now before I do anything else. So if we just go to chart 4 here, which is what's going on in this chart, is a chart of rain with an extra row in here, this 4 row right here. Okay, I normally don't have that in there. Okay, I'm not going to explain why it's not in there and why it is in there and all the rest of it right now, but what you'll notice is when you insert this line here that's scribbled in, you get a new set of totals down here. Okay, so these green totals are without the purple in, and obviously the purple was with the 4 line in here, right? note that we get Donald Trump's birthday showing up with the totals at the bottom of here when we've got this line in. Note that where this 611 shows up in here, okay, kind of interesting because there was quite a lot of 5995, especially with Clint Eastwood and her son synchronizing with the 5995, okay. And then here's the blooming ear wound here with the 713 all tying in, and there we go with 47 here. Like I was saying, it's pretty important with lupus numbers because it shows up, 47 and 47 shows up again here, okay. And again, just out of interest, if you go ahead and cross-reference 2 and 4, it comes out on a 7. So 247 on a cross-reference there as well. Anyway, just note that the 134 is at the start of this thing, and it makes this sort of cross here. Obviously 1, 3, and 4 add up to 8, and you've got this cross in here, which could be an 88 reference. And then when we look at, if we look at 611 down here in the totals here, you'll notice that it's synchronizing in with 88, okay, and 33, death and resurrection, and that you can also pick out some Madonna numbers right here, okay. Again, with the Pierce Brosnan thing, you can see why this looks interesting as well, with the 2772, yeah, and the 47 in between. I mean, I know it's kind of loose, but it kind of is interesting. Anyway, it was worth showing you that. I think there was, well, let's not get too bogged down. I just wanted to show you the fact that this here and this here, Anyway, let's just get off of this now. So 137 important, obviously the day of the year as well. 137 days left in the year for her birthday. What else did we have? I think I've pretty much done everything. Let me just explain that thing about the arm falling off. So that suit of armor, if you go to the music video for Die Another Day from Madonna, during that music video there is a arm that falls off a suit of armor. Yeah. Now, when we think about it, right, let me just show you something with this. Where the hell has it gone? Here. So this, the army, yeah, right, the 250th anniversary on Donald Trump's birthday, right? Now, if you think about the arm falling off the armor, okay, that's kind of interesting, because obviously if you're wearing a suit of armor, you're probably in the army or some form of an army, okay, and the arm falling off the armor is kind of a double arm reference. And then if you anagram army, okay, we're just going to take that M out and stick it in front of the A here, and you're going to end up with Mary. So this is kind of interesting with Mary, okay, and these dudes are, the ultimate protection, aren't they? Which is what being in Mary is. It's being in the womb, being protected, yeah, having somebody protect you, yeah. So this is kind of interesting with the idea of the army being the kind of mother figure. Now, when the army stays at home, yeah, and doesn't go out causing a problem with somebody else, yeah, it stays in balance, it's there just to defend. Yeah, that's kind of interesting with the idea of Mary. But when you get into the Matrix, when this thing now goes out and pillages elsewhere, just for the sake of doing it, yeah, for corrupt means or whatever, now you're in the Matrix. Now this thing's turned from a protector to an aggressor, which is no good. And that's what the Matrix does, doesn't it? It turns from what should be a protector into basically something that is completely controlling and essentially an aggressor. Okay, anyway, enough waffle. But I just thought it was interesting with the anagram there, Army and Mary. And obviously with the 25, the 250 again with the womb. I think that's it, to be quite honest. Again, on the dartboard, 611 is the straight up and down cross. Okay, do I have the dartboard up? Let me show you. So here's 11, come across to the 6. Okay, now Madonna stuff's right underneath here, which is kind of interesting. And then there's the 413. Yeah, kind of interesting, you know, with that reference to Titanic and everything and pi. But anyway, 611 going across goes straight up and down with 203, and of course the 203rd day of the year is 611. Or is it the other way around? Hang on a minute, what is it? May, June. Okay, it's not the 203rd day of the year. It's 203 days left in the year, sorry. 162. I did have a number jump that was on a 16. I had that numerology. I can't remember what it was though off the top of my head. This is the problem. Too many number jumps and too much stuff to think about. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. We've done everything. It's the 247 code, I guess, what you call it. I don't know. On the number plate that we had a ton of connections with Madonna, and don't forget the train that destroys the DeLorean. The DeLorean is Madonna. It's the metaphysical, whichever way you want to look at it. It's the moon, okay, the feminine side of reality. The train that destroys it is the same train that's locomotive, yeah, train being 6226 like Madonna, that destroys the DeLorean is the same train. And who's that girl? 611. It just goes to show though, doesn't it, just how many dates you can pick out for things to happen, and have pretty good connections, you know. I mean, I would say the time that I've been doing this, you know, there's a, you know, a good handful of dates that have had pretty good connections. The kind of thing you'll see people decode after the fact, you know, after the events happened, you'll see people decode and they'll get, you know, several really nice connections. But it makes you think, well, there may have been another, and this is just the dates I'm looking at, so there may be even more dates that could possibly work, you know, so for a certain date, for a certain event. So it just, you know, I don't think it's quite as cut and dry figuring this stuff out. It's just luck whether you actually get it right at the end of the day. It's either luck or there's some kind of reality pushing you that way, you know, i.e. some kind of divine sort of movement there. Anyway, I think I got to stop on this now. That's good enough, isn't it? I think, yeah, I think we've done everything. I have probably forgotten a couple of things, and like I said, like I haven't done every single number jump, and I just haven't got time to sit and do hundreds and hundreds of number jumps. We're already into 611 now, so we've gone past the date. But anyway, yeah. Oh dear. We'll see, won't we? Alright, I'm calling it. Thanks for watching. 611, Madonna. We'll see, won't we? Okay, right. Bye.